Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to everyone joining us from across the world. My name is Fernanda Rodak, manager at the Project Management Department at PATA, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's live webinar, Dynamic Shifts in Traveler Choices, Impact of the Current Geopolitical Situation and the Impact on the Asia-Pacific Region. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping notes. Today's session is being recorded and will be shared with all registrants. Today's presentation by Simon will be shared with all attendees following the session. Please use the chat box to engage with other participants, and kindly post your questions at any time during the Q&A box, and we will address them during the dedicated segment. If you experience any technical issues, feel free to reach out to us via the chat and our team will assist you. Today's topic could not be more timely. As political instability, economic pressures, and evolving traveler expectations continue to reshape global tourism, it is crucial that we understand how these dynamics influence decision-making and what this means for the Asia-Pacific. To officially open the session, I am pleased to invite PATA CEO, Mr. Nur Ahmad Hamid, to welcome his welcoming remarks.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone joining us from across the globe. It is indeed my great pleasure to welcome you to today's PATA webinar on Dynamic Shift on Travel Choices, Impact of the Current Geopolitical Situation and its Impact on the Asia-Pacific Region. Firstly, please let me begin by extending our sincere appreciation to our valued partner, MMGY Global. Their collaboration has been instrumental in making this session possible, and their ongoing research continues to provide essential insights that help shape the future of tourism across our region. I would also like to extend a warm welcome and a special thanks to Simon Moriarty, Vice President of Syndicated Research of MMGY Travel Intelligence and the author of the latest edition of PATA Issues and Trends on this very topic. This report serves as the foundation for today's discussion, which Simon will be leading shortly. With his expertise in trends, analysis, and market intelligence, I'm very confident that today's webinar will deliver valuable insights and fruitful further discussion into how the current geopolitical situation is influencing traveler behaviors and reshaping tourism across the Asia-Pacific region. Ladies and gentlemen, the global geopolitical landscape today has a profound impact on how and where people choose to travel. And the Asia-Pacific region in particular continues to experience notable shift in its inbound dynamics. Political instability, economic fluctuations, and evolving traveler preferences are all reshaping how our industry must navigate this complex and constantly changing environment. It is essential for tourism stakeholders to understand these dynamics, to seize emerging opportunities while effectively mitigating potential risks. This is precisely what makes this latest edition of the PATA Issues and Trends report such a valuable resource. It explores the evolving preferences of travelers, highlights trending destinations across Asia-Pacific region, and identifies geopolitical developments that destination and businesses should keep on their radar. The report was officially released earlier today, with complimentary access available to all PATA members and a special rate for chapter members. I encourage all our members to review these benefits and take full advantage of this important resource. Should you require any assistance, please feel free to reach out to any of our membership team. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, I extend my sincere gratitude to MMGY Global for the continued partnership and to all of you for joining us today. I look forward to an engaging and forward-looking discussion as we continue to shape the future and reshape the future of tourism in the Asia-Pacific region together. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon.
Thank you, Noor, for your insightful remarks. Now it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Simon Moriarty, VP of Syndicated Research at MMGY Global. Simon has nearly 2 decades of experience working as a trend and market intelligence expert, leading analyst teams and strategic development projects across the world. Today, Simon will talk, like Noor just mentioned now, about MMGY's Travel Intelligence latest findings, including how political instability and security concerns influence travelers' choices, which economic factors are shaping travel decision-making, how consumer preferences are evolving, and what this means for the future of APAC travel. Simon, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone, from a very cold London. Let me just share my screen and kick off the presentation. So yeah, thank you very much for the kind words, Fernando and Noor, and thank you to Pata for inviting me to speak today. And today's session really is, I think, an essential overview of the key shifts in traveller choices, why people are making different decisions when it comes to choosing destinations for international vacations. And that will obviously have a huge impact on the Pacific Asian region. We know from the last few years, but in particular this year, geopolitical climates across the world have really started to have a tangible effect on traveller choices, traveller decision-making, and the things that people are considering when it comes to making those essential choices, when it comes to choosing where to go on holiday, what kind of holiday they want, who they will travel with. Budget is always going to be an essential factor here, but what we're seeing is there's a more nuanced approach where people are considering all of these different elements in terms of the impact of political instability or political stability on their destinations, but also on their own feelings of safety, security, comfort. The vast majority of people, when they travel, want to go somewhere where they feel comfortable and safe. They want to explore natural beauty. They want to explore the cuisine and the food and drink offerings. They don't want to put themselves or their family or their friends at risk or in danger. And we also know that geopolitical shifts have an impact on the economy. So people are considering how those elements are affecting the budgets they put aside for their trips on an annual basis. So this is really looking at the impact on Asia Pacific of all of those different elements and how that will have an impact going forward from not just this year and the things that we've seen this year in terms of things like tariff announcements from the US, conflict across the world, but also going forward, because it will have a profound impact on how people consider different travel choices going forward. And just to summarize what the webinar will cover, as Noor and Fernanda said, it's all about the geopolitical climate and the impact on the Asia Pacific region. It's all about the choices that people make and how those external factors are impacting those choices, those decisions. And it's not just about immediate impact, it's about what will happen in the medium and long term. And alongside the political instability that I mentioned, the economic concerns that go hand in hand with that, people's needs and preferences will continue to change. They always have, and they always will. And it's having a profound impact on how people across the tourism industry, how brands, DMOs, anyone involved in travel, tourism, hospitality, needs to consider the complexity of the traveller mindset and how people's attitudes are changing, but how the landscape in which they make those decisions is also changing, and how in the future there will be changes and challenges that we haven't yet considered, that we don't know about. So thinking about the travel audience now will arm people and arm brands and DMOs with information that helps them make the right strategic decisions going forward. So to put this in context, you can see here how geopolitical influences are having an impact on traveller choices. And what we're seeing that, as I mentioned, stability and security are the key factors. Alongside that, the wider economic scenario, people are considering how economic shifts will have an impact on the money they have for traveling choices, for holiday and vacation and destination choices, the length of time they want to travel, the destination they go to. Again, that's not necessarily a new thing. People will always go to places that they can afford to go to. They put money aside to travel from a leisure point of view. But it's sitting alongside the flux of stability and security. That uncertainty really plays into the traveller mindset. Uncertainty causes fear, fear causes stagnation. And when there is stagnation, it's down to those brands, those organizations that work in the travel industry to try and alleviate some of that concern, to showcase the experiences that people have access to when they do visit those destinations. Alleviating those concerns will really drive growth in different destinations. People look for stability, they look for excitement, they look for adventure, but they look for those things within the context of what they're comfortable doing. So the two key things that are driving choices at the moment, above and beyond anything else from our research at MMGY, are political stability and security concerns and economic factors. There are lots of other factors to consider, such as budget, time available to take a trip, and so on, but political stability and economic factors have really grown as the key motivators when it comes to making holiday decisions and leisure travel decisions. And you can see some comparative data on the right-hand side. 71% of American travelers say that concerns about personal safety related to violence or unrest in the destination has impacted their international travel plans. This has grown by 6 percentage points, which is a significant growth from 2024. Compare that to 64% of Europeans. That has also seen a slight growth as people are considering the impact of what's happening in the destination on their decisions to visit those places. There will still be some people that want to go to a destination regardless of what's happening. It's on their bucket list. It's in their top 10, their top 5 destinations they want to visit during their lifetime. But a huge number of people are thinking about the geopolitical factors that shape that destination. 67% more broadly of American travelers say that the political climate in general impacts their international travel plans. Again, this has grown by a significant amount, by 11 percentage points since 2024, compared to 62% of Europeans. From an American point of view, a huge impact has been the announcement of tariffs, the new political structure in place with Donald Trump coming in for a second term. And people really seeing the tangible impacts on the political shifts within America, within the US, on their outbound experiences. And that's also having a knock-on effect to the economy. People are considering their own status, their own security in the economic climate. 61% of American travelers say that either the inflation in the US or the economy impacts their international travel plans for obvious reasons. If they have less money or they're less comfortable about their job security or the amount of savings they have, they're not going to spend as much on vacations, or they're going to be more conscious about how they budget different trips. So maybe reducing the number of international trips they take, spending more time on domestic trips. We're seeing a growth in domestic trips for younger generations in the US, for example. But that too has grown from 54% in 2024 to 61% from an American traveler point of view. And in Europe, 50% of Europeans say that the economy impacts their international travel plans. So there's less concern in Europe, but it's still affecting half of all travelers, which is a huge number of people. And as a result, consumer choices are continuing to evolve when it comes to making decisions. People's habits, people's behaviors, people's preferences when it comes to choosing a destination, choosing how they want to travel, where they want to travel to, why they want to choose a different destination. These continue to shift and develop, and having a clear understanding of what these consumer choices are, how they will continue to evolve, will really strengthen strategic plans, marketing initiatives, and so on. And those that can really drill into those changing choices and be flexible and be proactive are the ones that will really stand apart. So alongside the issues of stability and concerns about safety, personal safety, and the economic climate, people are also being driven by sustainability and eco-conscious choices, and that continued desire for cultural experiences. We've seen that 28% of European travelers avoided a destination or a transport option when it came to leisure travel because they felt it wasn't committed to sustainable practices. So just under a third of people are making conscious decisions to avoid certain ways of travel or avoid certain destinations because they don't do enough to, or they're not perceived to do enough to meet the travelers' own sustainable initiatives. And you can see a fairly consistent level of response across European markets that we survey. Italy and Spain, 30%, the UK, 25%, and then France and Germany at 28%. So it's important for brands, destinations to really showcase what they're doing from a sustainable point of view, because this forms part of that wider context of all of the different factors that are helping and driving people to make choices when it comes to international decisions. So apologies for the slight technical issue. But we'll continue with the presentation and looking at adaptability of travel brands and destinations. And we see from our research a number of barriers. The key thing to think about is why people aren't traveling internationally. People still want to travel. That's the key message. People still want to take holidays and take vacations, but they are concerned about all these different things that I've mentioned so far. 38% of European travelers are concerned about personal finances to the extent where they're not taking international trips as a result. But you can see that grows fairly significantly to 54% for American travelers and 56% for Canadian travelers. And we also see from our research that there's burgeoning interest, growing interest in lesser known destinations. Again, sustainability plays a part there. People are looking at ways that they can take a trip without damaging the ecosystem of where they're visiting, so they're avoiding overcrowding. That's also impacted by brands and destinations doing more to make those problems, those challenges visible, taking steps to close certain destinations at different times or reduce visitor numbers. But also, when it comes down to it, people want to take a holiday because they want to switch off and relax and unwind. So they don't want to necessarily be surrounded by thousands or millions of other people. And there's a desire for unique experiences as well. The key driver of travel from a kind of holistic point of view is people want to try new things. They want to connect with local communities. They want to try things that are authentic and genuine experiences. So it ticks the sustainability box, but it also allows people to get those experiences that they want. And you can see here, huge amounts of people are starting to make tangible choices based on overcrowding. 96% of people, international travelers from India, 90% from the US, 89% from Canada, and a similar number, 86% from Europe, will always or sometimes try and visit a destination in the off season. So this idea of seasonality, while it's still important, there's huge opportunity in the off season or the shoulder seasons to target people who are looking for a more relaxing, a more sustainable way of traveling. And we also know that people are extending their business travel. So those who do take business travel will try and add elements of leisure travel in there. 9 in 10 business travelers, a huge amount of people, have friends or family join them at least occasionally during their trips. But fewer international travelers are frequently extending their business trips for leisure compared to the previous 2 years. This is down to 21% from 23% in 2024 for Americans, and it's remained at 13% for Canadians. It's partly down to the convenience of doing so, the ability to add different days of leisure. So it's down to people's personal choices and planning, but they're still having elements of that leisure experience by inviting friends or family or meeting up with friends and family when they take business trips. And as work and personal life continues to blend post-COVID, I mean, we're a few years away from COVID now, but it's this kind of new mindset where work and leisure will continue to merge and blend. The propensity for business-related travel that allows those elements of extension from a leisure point of view really highlights that shift in motivations among international travelers. And looking more broadly at the global traveler with a focus on APAC regions, we can see how these shifts that I've talked about when setting the scene are really having an impact on specific destinations. We ran some research earlier this year looking at the state of the global traveler, asking their attitudes, perceptions, intention around a number of different destinations across the globe. And you can see here, focusing on China, 44% of respondents. So we surveyed people across India, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Canada, Japan, UK, and Germany. They expressed some level of visiting China within the next 2 years. Most popular among Mexican and Saudi respondents. They're more interested than they were 12 months ago. However, 47% of Japanese respondents are less interested. Obviously, that's bound up in, again, geopolitical relations and a kind of legacy relationship between Japan and China. But you can see that there is significant growth among those emerging markets where there is a significant travel base, a growing economy of people who want to experience different cultures, different destinations. Middle East is a hugely important destination, not just in terms of inbound travel, but in terms of outbound travel. There's a lot of consumers and travelers who are looking for luxury experiences. From the Mexico point of view, the impact of tariff announcements in the US is having a profound impact on where Mexican travelers want to go. They're no longer thinking about traveling to the US as commonly as they were. So again, they're looking for destinations perhaps further afield. And interest in visiting mainland China for a holiday in the next 3 years across all of those consumers who are interested in visiting Asia. You can see that China is, fairly consistent across all of these different travel audiences, around 15 to 17% for America, European, Indian, and Canadian travelers. So they're not small numbers of travelers, but there's a huge opportunity to grow interest in China, to showcase all of the different things that people are drawn to. So those elements of authenticity, local cuisine, the vast array of natural, beautiful scenery that people have access to when they visit China, but also the safety and stability of the country. And the key growth opportunities for China are those cultural experiences. They're drawn, people who go to China, and I've been lucky enough to visit China a number of times, people are drawn to the history and the cultural heritage that is relatively easily accessible without straying too far from big urban centers. So things like the Great Wall, historic temples, the diverse local festivals that people have access to. So people want to engage with cultural activities, and there's a huge opportunity to really push the connection between Chinese tradition and the benefits for international travelers. The authentic culinary scene, we think at MMGY, culinary travel is the big growth opportunity. It's the thing that will really, I think, explode over the next 12 months, where people are looking to not just go to a destination and try different food in the hotel or at the resort that they're staying in, but to experience the food and drink that the local communities are developing and creating, but also the food and drink that people who live in the country are trying on a regular basis, connecting those with things like regional festivals, local experiences is a really powerful way of developing a destination's reputation, especially somewhere like China, which is so vast and has so many regional differences. People are attracted to that regionality. They want food tours, the opportunity to participate in local cooking classes. They want to experience different gastronomy and different cuisines to really enhance their experience of the destination. And it's a hugely important factor when it comes to the positive perceptions of China. And despite Western travelers holding concerns about politics and health-related aspects, which again is a hangover from COVID, China's record of low violent crime rates is a really important factor. It really plays a part in enhancing a perception of safety. Compare that to India, where we've seen that when we ask people about where they want to travel and the importance of safety, 4.34 is the average as on a 5-point scale. When it comes to India, that's slightly lower at 3.44. And again, the perception of having no significant health risks on average, when people are asked to rank importance of that, 4.22 out of 5, so a hugely important score. But India, again, is perceived slightly lower as having some risk of health concerns. So again, it's about perception rather than experience. So there's opportunities to develop those conversations with travelers, showcase the safety of the destination. And again, large numbers of travelers are interested in visiting. 34% express an interest in visiting India within the next 2 years. That goes down to 26% if we take out the Indian respondents. So there's a lot of opportunity within the country to target local domestic travelers. Those travelers are also traveling internationally, and they're talking about their experiences within their home country to other audiences, to other travelers. So that's spreading the word about the positives of India as a destination. More than half of Indian consumers, 53%, are interested in traveling within India itself, more so than they were a year ago, which shows how travel preferences are impacting on where and why people want to travel. So people traveling, making the most of the countries in which they live, for cost reasons, for safety reasons, but also just greater awareness of all the benefits that people have on their own doorsteps. And when it comes to visiting India for a holiday in the next 3 years, across all of those consumers from America, Europe, India, and Canada, you can see, again, there's quite a lot of discrepancy. Just under a quarter of American travelers are interested, which is a significant number when you consider the size of that travel audience. European travelers less so, 17%, perhaps influenced by the influx of Indian culture into European cultures, more so than perhaps American travelers have access to on their own doorsteps. Indian travelers, as I said, are more willing and more excited about traveling within the country than they were a year ago. And then 17% of Canadian travelers are interested in visiting India. Again, an influx of Indian culture into Canada has perhaps shifted those attitudes slightly. But again, similar to China, history and culture is a key selling point. It's a home, India is the home of an extensive array of historical landscapes, UNESCO heritage sites, there's a huge amount of interest in visiting these attractions. There is a barrier there where, as I said, people are looking to avoid overcrowding. And there's a perception that some of the destinations, the attractions in India are hugely populated, both by locals, but also by travelers from around the world. So people want to visit these places, but in a way that makes them feel comfortable and safe. They also want to experience natural beauty. They want to take part in adventurous travel, but again, within the context of feeling safe, feeling comfortable, not going out of their comfort zone too much if they don't want to. And the diverse landscapes of India, including the different mountain regions, plateaus, the deserts, all of the different types of landscape that are available, it means that people who are seeking a bit more of an adventurous holiday have a wealth of opportunities to do things like trekking, wildlife safaris, nature exploration. So again, opportunities to target travelers with different opportunities within India, and affordability as well. India has a reputation for being an affordable destination, which adds significantly to its appeal, particularly for those people from an international audience who are looking for budget-friendly travel options. So having the ability to showcase in a transparent and authentic way that cost effectiveness and affordability doesn't mean a less important or less impactful holiday. It doesn't mean a kind of cheap alternative. It's about understanding the budget concerns that people have, but showing what's available, even with long-haul trips from the likes of the US, Canada. And think about Japan as well. We're seeing that it's remained fairly static in terms of opportunities and interest. 63% of American international travelers have expressed an interest in visiting Japan during 2025. That's the same as last year. And 59% of Canadians expressed the same interest. That's down slightly from 63%. But 55% of respondents across all of the countries that we surveyed have expressed an interest in visiting Japan, which is a modest increase from just over half of those consumers in 2023, and then a similar number to the 54% that were interested in 2024. But Japan stands out as the most sought after Asian country among European travelers. Thailand and Singapore, second and third place. So Japan is in a very strong position to continue to attract people that already have it on their bucket list. It's already a destination that people are interested in. There's a wealth of exposure in terms of cultural and media. People's understanding and awareness of Japan is fairly well ingrained. But it's about taking those next steps and actually booking that trip. And that's where destinations, brands, organizations can step in and showcase all of the different things that are available. And you can see here significant numbers of people across these markets are interested in visiting Japan, specifically for a holiday in the next 3 years. 63% of American travelers, and then 55% of European travelers, 59% of both Indian and Canadian travelers. So across the board, there is a significant amount of interest in visiting Japan, which provides opportunity to showcase all of the things that people are aware about already, but also think about those things that are less well known. So the modern attractions, I think a lot of people are already aware about when they think about Japan. Many travelers are drawn to the modern attractions, particularly around technology, people wanting to embrace the technological innovation associated with destinations like Tokyo, but also theme parks like Studio Ghibli Museum, the Universal Studios Japan Complex. The combination of old and new cultural experiences is something that really sets Japan apart. It makes it a unique destination to visit. So really showcasing how the modern and the ancient can sit together in a way that one doesn't damage the other is something that's hugely important. Social media influence is also a huge driving force when it comes to Japan as a destination. Recommendations from social media, visually appealing content, influencers as well, sharing their travel experiences, play an essential role in shaping the perception of Japan. People are using social media, specifically when it comes to Japan as a destination, to make choices and make decisions. We will see lots and lots of videos and content created by influencers who go to places like Tokyo and film themselves experiencing the cultures that people are already fairly well aware of. So it's about tapping into those less well-known experiences and using social media influencers to really highlight those elements of Japan without tipping it over into becoming another overcrowded, overpopulated area. And safety and cleanliness, again, it ties into the initial point about comfort, avoiding destinations or holiday experiences that make people feel insecure or unsafe. Japan is perceived as one of the safest destinations in the world. which is really important in today's culture and today's kind of economy. Providing that sense of security is hugely important, and high standards of cleanliness that people are aware of in Japan in public spaces. That perception of safety when people are traveling, particularly when they're traveling on their own, also enhances the overall visitor experience and really drives those decisions when it comes to traveling. So to summarize all of these things, obviously there's a lot to think about when it comes to such a broad and vastly different region, and understanding all of the different things that people care about, but thinking about the driving elements of political security, perceptions of instability versus perceptions of safety, perceptions of cost versus the economic climate in which people are making decisions. These growing economic and geopolitical uncertainties really put Asia in a strong position. It's emerged as a resilient, adaptable travel destination because of all of that diversity. It has diverse offerings in different destinations. There's a lot of adaptability. People can choose and decide and customize and personalize all of the different things they want to do when they get there. These are all appealing attributes. People want a level of control over their leisure travel decisions. And destinations within Asia can leverage a lot of opportunities to enhance the attractiveness to international travelers. So it holds significant potential as a destination, particularly among ongoing uncertainties and particularly compared to other regions around the world. So by focusing on the key things of safety, regional tourism, cultural engagement, sustainability, the integration of technology to really enhance the leisure experience, the branding of Asian countries, the perception that people have of Asian destinations, they can really successfully navigate the challenge, position themselves as the attractive options for global travelers. Because as I said, people still want to travel. All of these factors that are impacting them from geopolitical point of view, the economy, safety, security, people are still traveling despite those things. They're just shifting their attitudes, their behaviors, their planning cycles. And destinations within Asia have a huge opportunity to proactively reach out to those travelers and showcase all of the things that are important. And this strategic approach will aid recovery in the sense of growing numbers of people to visit Asia. But it also contributes to long-term resilience in the tourism sector by showcasing and opening up the region to travelers, particularly from the US, particularly from Canada, and showcasing Asia as a destination of choice for huge numbers of very influential travelers. That's a hugely beneficial thing, not just for the Asian region, but for the travel industry as a whole. So some key takeaways to think about. Investment in safety and health will continue to be crucial, and being transparent, listening to travelers, understanding all of their different nuanced needs when it comes to safety and health, understanding the perceptions that people have, and understand how you can overcome those perceptions or showcase how those perceptions might be accurate and what steps are being taken to alleviate some of those concerns. The promotion of regional tourism is essential, showcasing the vast differences across Asia, but also all of the different experiences that are available. So things like the culinary experiences that differ from region to region, even within the country. Cultural and experiential tourism, these are still key drivers when it comes to people choosing a destination and choosing to travel internationally on the whole. They want to experience new cultures. They want to experience things that are unique. They want to tick things off their bucket list. They want to do things that they can share with other people on social media. People are driven to experience new things alongside the desire to switch off and relax. Sustainability, as I said, people are making decisions based on sustainable initiatives. They're deciding to visit other places if one place isn't seen to be sustainable enough. They're willing to spend more on travel options that are more sustainable, on destinations that are more sustainable. But there is a huge impetus that the brands, the destinations themselves are doing more and are being more transparent and more open about the things they're doing to showcase their sustainability credentials. Leveraging technology as well. So from the social media side, that's continuing to drive people. And importantly, it's driving decisions among older travelers. Older travelers are more engaged with social media than ever before, and they're using social media to make decisions. So having transparent, authentic influencers showcasing the destination in a way that's real is a hugely important thing, but also leveraging AI to help people make decisions. People are using AI more than ever before to do some of the admin when it comes to travel. So creating lists of destination choices, helping them budget, helping them come up with different strategic plans from their own point of view in terms of the planning of a holiday, particularly a long-haul international holiday. but people still want that human connection. So working alongside the growth of AI with human experts from the region is a hugely important way to communicate with travelers. And strengthening the destination brand resilience, understanding the perceptions that travelers have, all of these concerns that I've talked about from an economic and geopolitical point of view, but showcasing what the destination offers and providing that comfort, that resilience, that security to people, alongside all of the traditional things that they are drawn to, from cultural, culinary to natural and experiential experiences when they visit different destinations. So thank you very much for your time today. Apologies again for the slight technical hiccup, but I hope today's session was very interesting, and hopefully the implications will have some benefit for you.
No problem, Simon, and thank you very much for your comprehensive presentation. Let me start sharing screen. So as I mentioned before, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box. But I will start asking some questions to Simon to get the conversation going. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Great. So Simon, your research shows, and you emphasized this a few times, that the concerns around personal safety and political climate have risen sharply, several percentage points, especially among American travelers. So I guess 2025 is a more uncertain year than last year. How can tourism stakeholders practically address intangible fears around political and security risks compared to more measurable challenges of economic factors such as inflation or exchange rates?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's obviously an important question. It's because it's a more emotional and more holistic, more nuanced concern that travelers have. It's based on their own perceptions of what's happening in the world. But I think there are some measurable elements of that, because from the presentation, you would have seen that political uncertainty, global uncertainty, the perception of unrest in different regions has a tangible connection to economic factors, which can be measured more strongly. And we do research that shows exactly that, of the concerns people have around their job security, how much disposable income they have to budget for travel specifically compared year on year or quarter on quarter. And we can make that connection between the sort of intangible geopolitical side, the kind of concerns that people have from a personal point of view, to those more tangible, more measurable elements of how that impacts their own economic situation. And actually what's happening is, as I said, and overall, there's an optimistic kind of point of view here, that people are still traveling. They want to travel to international destinations. They want to visit multiple places. They want to tick things off their bucket lists. They want to engage with local communities when they travel and try new things. So there's still a huge appetite to travel, but there is a tangible, measurable element where we can see the connection between economic stability and geopolitical unrest and how people are perceiving those two things. But we're also seeing that even when people are concerned about geopolitics and the destination safety, they're actually still feeling quite comfortable. On the whole, there's a lot of comfort and kind of security from an American economic point of view, and people still want to travel. So they're still budgeting. They're actually committed to spending more on travel than they have been over the last 12 months. So the uncertainty that's been fairly common, I would say, since 2020 has been the last 5 years has been a very uncertain time from a global perspective. But people are now in a period where they're kind of used to that. It's part of everyone's day-to-day lives, that uncertainty is a part of our experience. And what's happening is people are just still want to travel. They're still committed to spending money on travel. They're just putting a bit more aside to take those trips.
Thank you, Simon. We have been receiving some questions in the Q&A box, and I think there is one that is a good continuation of the first question. Sean from the Philippines is asking about the differences between Gen Z and millennial travelers and how they perceive and respond to geopolitical risks, and how should tourism stakeholders adapt their communication and marketing strategies to address these differing risk sensitivities. Thanks, Sean,
Yeah,
for
it's
the
a very
question.
good. Yes, sorry. It's a good question. It's a question I don't think I can answer in a kind of a couple of sound bites, but definitely happy, Sean, if you want to contact me afterwards, we have more information about this. But yeah, we're seeing when we do research at MMGY, we do split across generations. So we have a lot of information about the differences. What we're actually seeing is that millennial travelers are the ones, particularly from the US point of view, they are the ones that are taking more domestic trips. They're planning to take more domestic trips in the US. And that's probably as a result of geopolitical unrest and uncertainty there. They're kind of staying closer to home because, again, they still want to travel. They want to experience things, but they're taking advantage of the things that are on their doorstep. And that's partly driven by global unrest and global uncertainty, which also has an impact on their incomes and their economic stability. Gen Z, their travel habits, I think, are fairly stable. They haven't grown or declined particularly significantly over the last few years because they tend to be in a bit more of a stable position in terms of savings and income and economic strength. But both have a fairly similar mindset. They still want to travel. They still want to experience new things. And we're seeing differences when it comes to what they want to do when they get there. Gen Z tend to travel with their family, with their children, so they're looking for more family-friendly activities. Millennials actually want to spend more time on the beach, so they kind of traditional, expectations when they travel. Younger people will tend to travel with friends more than with family, for example. So there's lots of opportunities within that to communicate and market to those groups based on who they're traveling is and who they're traveling with and what it is they want to do when they get to the destination.
Thank you, Simon. And maybe the next question can be from Prapon. Japan continues to rank as one of the world's most desirable destinations. What do you think other APAC markets can learn from Japan's sustainability to inspire traveler confidence and remain so consistently appealing?
Yes, there's a lot to learn. I think Japan is obviously in a good position because it's kind of embedded itself in the culture of different countries outside of Asia in a way that perhaps other Asian destinations haven't, and that's partly because of cultural impacts through things like TV, music, technology. Having the reputation as an epicenter of technological innovation is a huge selling point because it draws in lots of people, not just younger people who are interested in kind of new technology and experience the next big thing, but also older consumers who kind of see that as part of the overall offering of what Japan is all about. But also it has that kind of, I think it's managed, when it comes to marketing Japan, it's managed to balance the technological and the urban and the huge kind of the fast-paced, exciting kind of city lifestyle with the natural beauty and the scenery that it also has the huge benefit of having on its doorstep. But that's something that huge numbers of other Asian destinations also have. So I think where Japan has benefited and found success is showcasing authenticity, not kind of changing its own culture in a way that maybe other destinations are perceived to, whereas kind of it's very welcoming to tourists, but it's not, tourists still have to follow the kind of social rules of being in Japan and follow the safety and security protocols and be clean and tidy and be respectful. And if people follow those kind of social rules, they're more than welcome to stay there and experience the country. And I think that perception of welcomeness within the context of, you are a visitor to the country, you're experiencing it in a temporary way, is something that people respect. And I think that's what other destinations can learn from.
Thank you, Simon. You mentioned a lot about the power of a social media. There's a question that just came in now. Will there be an impact of travel media influencer or bloggers on choosing destinations to travel?
Yeah, there continues to be. I mean, it's been something that's, I'd say, the last 10 years has been a hugely influential part of the travel experience. What we have seen is there's a shift in terms of perception when we are making decisions about where we want to travel. We're not just kind of consuming everything and kind of thinking that is, you know, authentic. People are a bit more questioning about the authenticity of the influencers that they're exposed to, the videos or the posts that are in their feeds on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. People are actually shifting from, there was a big shift from kind of celebrity influencers to normal influencers. So people kind of less reliant on, you know, I'm going to just pick random celebrities, but there's no offense to them if they happen to be on this call. The Kardashians, for example, people a few years ago would have been like, I want to go and experience this because these people have been posting videos from there. And it's kind of about a luxury or an unattainable way of life that people kind of crave. And now it's more about what's realistic to me. How does this influencer who is posting videos about their trips with their family, that's more of a realistic, relatively kind of comparable experience because I have a family and I want to experience the same thing. So people are looking for more authentic social media influencers. So they're more questioning about who is the influencer and what is it that they are getting out of being an influencer. So people are more aware of, you know, people being paid to advertise somewhere versus someone who is simply recording their own experiences. And also importantly, we're seeing people with mobility and accessibility needs. So people who use wheelchairs, for example, there's a huge challenge for those people in lots of ways when it comes to travel, but there's a growth in influencers who are also experiencing those things, who are showing those authentic experiences of how to navigate public transport in Japan on a wheelchair, or how to experience the historic sites of China while using walking aids, or if you're visually impaired. So people are looking for the influencers that really match their own experiences, and they're more questioning about the genuine nature of those influences.
That's a very good point. Very interesting. I just wanted to mention to Ramsey, I see you've posted quite a few questions, but I think they kind of have been covered already by Simon on other questions in the presentation. So maybe I jump into questions from the chat. Ms. Maria, good to see you here. Your question is about, do you think DIY traveling versus getting the services of a travel agency or tour operator is still preferred?
Yeah, it's a good question. It varies a lot actually from different audiences, but also different generations within those different audiences. So there's quite a big mix of those who want to do it themselves, particularly among younger people, particularly leveraging AI tools like ChatGPT and Gemini to kind of cut out some of the DIY admin and create, you know, lists of destinations based on a specific budget or a specific set of interests. But as I mentioned, people still want that human experience. They want the human expertise, particularly when it's choosing a big holiday, an international destination to somewhere that you haven't been before. You want the security of having a human operator, a human expert to help you make those decisions. So there is still huge demand for travel agents, tour operators, particularly for older consumers who are looking for things like walking tours, organized group tours. They want to do that with tour operators that they know they can trust to create an itinerary that works for them. So yeah, there's a balance between the two. We're seeing, and we do research specifically into travel agents versus online travel agents versus AI travel support and technology and travel, and we are seeing that there's kind of a balance between all three of those things. People are still looking for human expertise, but they are more and more of them are using technology to cut out some of the more boring parts of a travel booking process, like, you know, choosing a list of things and budgeting understanding what to take with you and how to pack and all of the security and passport and visa things there. They'll go and ask ChatGPT first, but then they'll also want the support of a human expert who has expertise within that destination.
Absolutely. And I think we have time for one last question, which is a big one. So thank you, Joanna, for your question. Okay, bear with me, it's a long one. If decoupling between major global powers become the reality, what specific actionable mechanism, economic, diplomatic, or security base can the Asia-Pacific region, particularly its middle and smaller powers, employ to effectively maintain its centrality and guarantee strategic autonomy, preventing its reduction to a collection of externally aligned dependencies?
That is a big question for
It is.
8:30 a.m. in the morning, but it's an important question, and I think, and again, I'm very happy to answer and follow up on all of these questions if people want to contact me. But I think it's more about countries becoming more independent and more kind of individual and unique to show their own authenticity, their own authority in different ways. And all of those different mechanisms that you mentioned, economic, diplomatic, security, all of those things are already in place. We've always had to travel through specific means and with specific protocols when traveling internationally across borders. What's happening is that some of those things have changed. And for some countries, they've changed for the first time in people's lifetimes. So it's about growing awareness of what people need to do when they travel to a destination to make sure they're on top of all of those concerns when it comes to the security impacts. Do they have the right visa? Are they traveling in the right way? Are they queuing in the right place? Do they understand what they have to do? Do they understand the fees that are involved? All of that stuff. Travel can be a stressful experience, and in an uncertain world, that stress is kind of highlighted. So smaller countries or countries that maybe are less familiar to people can really benefit from that by showcasing a welcomeness. They still want to be able to give people the information they need to feel secure and safe when they travel, but it's particularly when it's in a world of conflict and geopolitical kind of machinations and complexity, showcasing the uniqueness of the travel experience. At the end of the day, the vast majority of people travel to a destination because they want to have a holiday and they want to experience the destination for a 2-week period with their friends, with their family. They want to experience nice foods, a nice beach, visit some attractions, meet local people. And they don't necessarily care about all of the bigger picture stuff as long as it doesn't impact directly on their vacation. So I think there's a lot of things that brands can do and organizations can do within destinations to continue showcasing that welcomeness, that authenticity, highlighting all of the different things that are available. Because at the end of the day, people will make decisions based on the things that matter to them. They'll choose to go somewhere because it has the best beaches for their family to visit. It has the nicest museums or the best museums that they want to visit, or it has the nicest food that they want to try, or it has an experience that's on their bucket list. And as long as those bigger picture issues don't directly impact on their ability to travel there, then they'll still want to go there. So it's about enhancing authenticity and continuing to speak to consumers in a way that they understand.
Thank you, Simon. You've been super, and you've answered a lot of questions. I don't think we have time for any more, so I would like to invite all of you watching us here to download the latest report from MMGY Global, Issues and Trends, Dynamic Shifts in Traveler Choices, Impact of the Current Geopolitical Situation. The report is now available on the PATA catalog, and PATA members can download the complimentary copy on the Info Hub. Please feel free to scan the QR codes on the screen to get your reports now. I'll leave it for a few seconds more. So thank you again, Simon. Thank you, Simon. And on behalf of PATA, thank you to MMGY Global for for joining us today. Before we go, I would like to invite all of you watching us to the PATA Destination Marketing Forum happening in less than a month in Chiang Rai, Northern Thailand. From 1st to 3rd of December, you can visit our website www.pata.org to learn more and register. Next year, the PATA Annual Summit is coming to South Korea. Please join us at Gyeongju and Pohang from May 11 to 13, 2026. Again, you can learn more on our website, www.pata.org, and we can't wait to see you there. And finally, the PATA Travel Mart 2026 is taking place in Sarawak, Malaysia. So mark your calendars, August 18 to 20 in the beautiful city of Kuching. And lastly, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me and my team at pm@pata.org. That stands for Project Management. And if you have any questions for Simon that we didn't have time to address on this webinar, feel free to send it to us and we can get you in touch with him and his team as well. So once again, thank you so much, Simon, for joining us and for taking the time to cover all these questions. And I wish you a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Mm-hmm.